Have you ever seen a woman leave a rich man for someone who doesn't even own a car, or watched a beautiful girl laugh effortlessly beside a guy who by all traditional standards doesn't deserve her? It's confusing at first. Isn't money supposed to be the ultimate magnet? Isn't wealth the shortcut to women's attention? That's what we've all been told. But here's the hard truth no one talks about. Women are not biologically attracted to your money. They're attracted to what your money represents, and even more deeply to the things it can never buy. Yes, money may open the door, but it's your presence, your behavior, your energy, what she feels in your company that makes her stay or walk away. In this video, we're going to break down the 3 things women crave even more than money. These traits are invisible to the untrained eye, but they run deep in female psychology, and if you understand them, you don't need to be rich to win the heart of a high-value woman. In fact, some of the most attractive men in the world aren't flashy tall or even particularly good-looking, but they all mastered these 3 silent skills. And when you understand them, you'll stop chasing and start attracting. Let's begin. We live in a culture obsessed with wealth. Luxury watches, private jets, Instagram photos of perfect lives. Everywhere you look, the message is clear. If you want women to notice, you get rich. But here's what most men never realize: money doesn't attract women. Certainty does. And yes, money can symbolize certainty, but it's not the source of it. A man can have millions and still feel insecure, still chase, still beg for validation, and a woman can feel that energy instantly. She doesn't just see your Rolex or your car. She feels your presence. And when that presence is grounded, calm, self-directed, that's what really draws her in. Here's the harsh truth no one wants to hear. You can't compensate for internal weakness with external wealth. If money alone made men attractive, every rich guy would have a loyal, passionate, drama-free relationship. But we both know that's not how the world works. Because while money might get you the first date, it's who you are that determines whether she stays. I knew a guy named David, owned 3 restaurants, drove a Maserati. But every time he dated, it ended the same way. He'd buy gifts, fly her out, show off his lifestyle. But the women always drifted away. Some even left for guys who made a fraction of what he did. Why? Because underneath the wealth, he was needy. He feared rejection, and women can smell that. It's primal. So what does that teach us? That being attractive to women is less about your wallet and more about your emotional posture. Your internal world creates your external results. So if money isn't the real source of attraction, then what is? The answer lies in something deeper, something ancient, instinctive, and embedded in the way women perceive male value. It's what we call being a high-value man. But let's be clear, this has nothing to do with flexing wealth, bragging about your achievements, or pretending to be some alpha male stereotype. Being high value is about what your presence communicates even before you speak. It's not what you wear. It's not what you drive. It's how she feels when she's around you. Let's go back to biology for a second. A man's attraction to a woman is often instant, visual, and physical. But a woman's attraction to a man builds through layers: energy, tone, behavior, decision-making, emotional rhythm. A high-value man doesn't just stand tall, he moves with purpose. He speaks with intention. He listens with curiosity. He knows where he's going and doesn't panic under pressure. That's what makes her feel safe. That's what makes her feel like she can let go of control and trust you. She's not asking for a superhero. She's watching to see if you're calm when things go wrong, if you respect yourself when no one's watching, if your words match your actions. I want you to think about the kind of man who walks into a room and doesn't have to say much, but somehow people notice. Not because he's loud, but because his energy is grounded. That's high value. One time I saw this firsthand. I was at a wedding and there were guys in tailored suits flashing watches talking about their businesses. But the guy who had every woman's attention, he was wearing a plain navy shirt, sipping water, laughing gently, listening more than he talked. He wasn't trying to impress, he was just being, and that's what made him magnetic. Being high value is about having a strong internal frame, a frame that doesn't crack under pressure, a frame that isn't reactive, a frame that isn't afraid of rejection. Because here's the secret: when a woman senses that you don't need her to feel complete, she feels safe opening herself to you. And that's the beginning of real attraction. This is what separates boys from men. Immature men chase attention. High-value men draw it without chasing. They move through life with clarity, with intention, with self-respect. And the good news, this isn't some gift you're born with. You can build it. And it starts with the first real pillar of attraction: inner stability. Inner stability is the foundation of male attractiveness because it speaks directly to a woman's deepest biological need: safety. You see, when a woman meets a man, her mind isn't just asking, is he cute? It's subconsciously asking, is he safe? Can I trust him emotionally? Will he stay calm when things go wrong? These aren't just preferences, they're survival-level instincts wired into her psychology for thousands of years. And that's where inner stability comes in. A man who is emotionally grounded, who doesn't overreact, who can sit with discomfort without collapsing, that man radiates strength. He doesn't need to yell, he doesn't need to threaten, he doesn't need to show off. His energy says, I've got this. And that one sentence, unspoken but deeply felt, is what makes women feel drawn to him even if they don't know why. Let me ask you, how do you respond when life throws something unexpected at you? Do you panic? Do you lash out? Do you fall apart internally, even if you try to hide it? Or do you pause, breathe, observe, and respond with clarity? That's the difference between a man who is reactive and a man who is stable. And here's the truth. Women don't fall for the man who has no problems. They fall for the man who can handle problems with strength and clarity. Think about it. Anyone can be charming when life is easy. But when stress hits, when things fall apart, that's when your real value is revealed. Not just to her, but to yourself. Let me share a real-life example. A friend of mine, Daniel, was in a relationship with a woman who had been through a lot: past betrayals, deep insecurities, emotional walls. Most men ran away, but Daniel stayed calm. He didn't try to fix her. He didn't argue with her pain. He simply held his emotional frame, and over time she softened. She started trusting again, because she felt safe, not because he said the right things, but because his energy was stable enough to hold space for both of them. That's inner stability. And you don't need money to develop it. You need self-awareness. You need discipline. You need to train your nervous system to stay calm when the world isn't. Meditation helps. Cold showers help. Hard conversations help. But most of all, your willingness to sit with discomfort without escaping, blaming, or numbing, that's where true strength is born. And once a woman feels that stability in you, she stops looking at your income. She starts looking at your leadership, because deep down she knows money can disappear. Looks can fade, but a man with a steady soul, that's rare, that's attractive, that's who she'll follow. If inner stability is the foundation, then social influence is the structure that rises from it. Because once a woman senses that you're grounded, the next thing she notices is how the world responds to you. It's not about being the loudest guy in the room. It's not about being popular. It's about your ability to connect, to lead without forcing, to move through conversations with ease. That's charisma. Charisma is one of the most misunderstood traits in masculinity. People think it means being funny, extroverted, or always entertaining. But real charisma, the kind that makes a woman stop scrolling, stop doubting, stop overanalyzing, comes from presence, from emotional awareness, from the subtle power of connection. Let me explain. A man with social influence doesn't dominate a room, he balances it. He listens with intention, he speaks with precision, and when he looks at you, you feel like you matter. That's why women love socially intelligent men. Because a man who can build relationships, who has solid friendships, who can navigate conflict with maturity, he signals something far more important than flash or fame. He signals trust, and trust is the currency of emotional safety. I remember being at a dinner party once. There were two guys sitting at the table. One was clearly trying to impress: a loud laugh, constant jokes, lots of flexing. The other was quieter. He asked questions. He really listened. When he spoke, people leaned in. He didn't say much, but every word hit. By the end of the night, every woman at that table remembered him, not because he entertained them, but because he understood them. That's social influence, and it's built over time, not by trying to get attention, but by learning how to direct it. So how do you build it? Start small. Practice active listening. Ask better questions. Read people's body language. Pay attention to how your energy affects the room when you enter it. Do people relax around you or tense up? Because your presence teaches people how to treat you, and women notice that faster than you think. When you walk into a room and others respect you, not out of fear, but from admiration, she sees it. She feels it. She's drawn to it. Not because you're the center of attention, but because you're the center of calm influence. That's charisma, that's power. And yes, that's far more attractive than a flashy bank account. If stability is the foundation and social influence is the structure, then self-confidence is the light that shines through it all. Because a man can be calm, he can be socially intelligent, but if he doesn't believe in himself, she'll feel that too. Authentic self-confidence is not about arrogance. It's not about pretending you're better than others. It's the quiet, unshakable knowing I can handle whatever life throws at me. And I don't need anyone's approval to feel whole. That kind of confidence doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be validated. It's internal, rooted, earned. A confident man makes decisions without constant second-guessing. He doesn't collapse under pressure. He knows his boundaries, and he's not afraid to walk away from disrespect. That's why confidence is magnetic. Because in a world full of confusion, a confident man feels like clarity. In a world full of noise, he feels like peace. And in a world full of boys seeking validation, he stands as a man who knows himself. Let me share something personal. A few years ago, I was working with a client named Eric. He wasn't tall, didn't have model looks, but he had a presence that made people turn around when he entered a room. Not because he tried to be impressive, he simply believed in who he was. He wasn't trying to be liked. He wasn't trying to prove himself, and women noticed. What changed his life wasn't some new tactic or secret pickup line. It was the moment he stopped needing approval, the moment he started keeping the promises he made to himself, waking up on time, finishing what he started, speaking his truth without fear. That's when confidence began to grow, not from ego, but from alignment. Confidence is self-respect in action, and when a woman feels that from you, she relaxes. Because now she doesn't have to mother you. She doesn't have to manage your emotions. She can be feminine. She can open. Because your confidence gives her room to feel safe in her own softness. This is what most men never realize. Confidence isn't for show, it's for stability. It's what allows you to lead, protect, guide, and love with strength. And no amount of money can fake that. So now you know the truth. Stability, charisma, confidence, these are the traits that women secretly love more than money. But the real question is, how do you build them? Let's start with stability. If you want to become emotionally grounded, you need to train your nervous system like a muscle. Start with stillness. Meditation isn't just some trendy practice, it's how you learn to observe your thoughts instead of being ruled by them. Even 10 minutes a day of silence, a breath of focus, rewires your ability to stay calm when life gets loud. Next, challenge yourself physically. Go lift something heavy. Take cold showers. Get into nature, into discomfort, into your edge. Because the more you train your body to stay composed under stress, the more your mind learns to follow. Now let's talk about charisma. Charisma begins with presence. Put down your phone, look people in the eye. Listen not just to reply, but to understand. Read fiction to understand emotion. Study psychology to understand people. And most of all, ask better questions, because the man who understands people is the man people want to be around. Start conversations everywhere. With the barista, with the Uber driver, with the older gentleman at the gym. Build your social confidence in the small moments, so when the big moments come, you're already ready. And finally, confidence. Real confidence doesn't come from affirmations, it comes from evidence. So start creating small wins that stack. Wake up on time. Keep your word. Say no when you mean no. Do the thing you promised yourself you'd do even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching. Because every time you follow through, you send a message to your own mind, I can trust me. And when a man trusts himself, everything about him changes. His voice, his walk, his posture, his energy. Women notice, the world notices, and most importantly, you notice. In the past, masculinity was defined by survival. Hunt, build, protect. But in today's world, those lines have blurred. Now it's not just about physical strength, but about emotional strength, mental clarity, relational intelligence. And here's the truth. We're living in a time of noise, scrolling, swiping, performing. Everyone wants to look successful, but few know what it really means to be grounded. That's why stability, charisma, and confidence are more powerful now than ever before. Because women are tired. Tired of men who chase validation. Tired of boys in grown men's bodies who can't regulate their emotions. Tired of feeling like they have to lead in love while the man disappears under pressure. In a world where masculinity has been misunderstood and even attacked, what women secretly crave is the return of real men. Men who don't posture but lead. Men who don't dominate but protect. Men who don't need approval but live with purpose. And when you step into that version of yourself, something shifts. You stop chasing, you start attracting, you stop performing, you start embodying. And suddenly you realize it was never about the money. It was always about the man behind it. In the past, masculinity was defined by survival. Hunt, build, protect. But in today's world, those lines have blurred. Now it's not just about physical strength, but about emotional strength, mental clarity, relational intelligence. And here's the truth. We're living in a time of noise. Scrolling, swiping, performing. Everyone wants to look successful, but few know what it really means to be grounded. That's why stability, charisma, and confidence are more powerful now than ever before. Because women are tired. Tired of men who chase validation. Tired of boys in grown men's bodies who can't regulate their emotions. Tired of feeling like they have to lead in love while the man disappears under pressure. In a world where masculinity has been misunderstood and even attacked, what women secretly crave is the return of real men. Men who don't posture but lead. Men who don't dominate but protect. Men who don't need approval but live with purpose. And when you step into that version of yourself, something shifts. You stop chasing. You start attracting. You stop performing. You start embodying. And suddenly you realize it was never about the money. It was always about the man behind it. So here's the truth, real, undeniable, and unshakable. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be perfect. You don't even need to be the best-looking guy in the room. What you need is substance. You need presence. You need discipline. You need a calm heart and a steady hand when life gets chaotic. Because in the end, women don't stay with a man for his money. They stay for how he makes them feel, safe, seen, respected, led. And the beauty is you can become that man. Every day you choose growth over comfort, you get stronger. Every time you hold your frame instead of reacting emotionally, you earn respect. And every time you walk forward with self-trust, you deepen your value not just to women, but to the world. Money can lose its shine, looks can fade, but the man you build from the inside out, that version of you can't be taken away. So build him. Start today, not for her, but for you. Because when you become the kind of man who doesn't need to chase, you'll be surprised how much naturally comes your way.